everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the Xpertz Podcast. I'm your host, Natalie and This is an important topic that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about gambling addiction and compulsive gambling and what to look for and what you can do if you feel like your gambling is getting out of control and it's not fun anymore. Because here at Parx Casino and Parx Sportsbook, we want to make sure that you're having fun, and that's what the purpose is. As you said, and I've said in previous podcasts, you can have fun gambling for less than you pay for a beer, and it doesn't have to get out of control, and it can be a fun thing that you can incorporate in your life. And it's the adult thing to do is to address that it doesn't come sometimes without certain circumstances, and addiction's a really difficult thing to talk about in general. It's so multifaceted, and the conversation can go a million different ways. So what I want to do here today is kind of open this with just the facts, right? What the doctors say are symptoms and signs of compulsive gambling or gambling disorder. And then I'm going to bring in Ron Davis, incredible head of inclusivity and diversity here at Parx Casino. He also is the guy who implemented the pathway for gambling addiction resources here at Parx Casino in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. He's the guy implementing all of the causes, making the phone calls, doing all the work. He's, boots on the ground, working in the area also to make sure that the people who come here and gamble here know that if they feel like something is going askew in their life, that there are resources available to them. And fun fact, Ron actually played for the NFL. He's an incredible guy. So we'll get into his career a little bit, and he'll share some fun stories that he has. And so here are the signs and symptoms of compulsive gambling. So being preoccupied with gambling, such as constantly planning how to get more gambling money, needing to gamble with increasing amounts of money to get the same thrill, trying to control, cut back, or stop gambling without success, feeling restless, irritable when you try to cut down on gambling, gambling to escape problems or relieve feelings of helplessness, guilt, anxiety, or depression, trying to get back lost money by gambling more. That's chasing losses, lying to family members or others to hide the extent of your gambling. If you're lying to your family, that means you're jeopardizing or losing important relationships. This is another big sign. A job or school, work opportunities because of gambling. And if you're resorting to theft or fraud to get gambling money, or asking others to bail you out of financial trouble because you gambled your money away. That is something that Parx wants to make sure that you're aware of. If you're having any of these issues, there are resources available to you. You'll hear from Ron in the next segment. He'll get into that. And also 1-800-GAMBLER. We always implore you. I know you probably hear it all over the advertisements and again, all over your TV screen, but it is important and there are resources available, and it's a responsible thing to do to kind of address this head on. And for us to tell you that we want to make sure that you're doing this responsibly and having fun, because there are still fun parts to this. James Harden, we're going to touch on this later in the podcast, finally making his debut for the Philadelphia 76ers to the delight of every Philadelphia sports fan. It's an incredible thing to witness. Joel Embiid has a permanent smile on his face. Tyrese Maxey bouncing all over the floor, playing out of his mind. It's been really exciting to see the Harden era upon us in Philadelphia and the weight of the Ben Simmons saga lifted off of our shoulders. So we're going to touch on that. And then, of course, we have Feldman's Fact or Fiction. We'll see what he has in store for me today. So after this, we'll talk to Ron. And again, this is an important episode, and I thank you all for listening. And again, those were the signs and symptoms of compulsive gambling and gambling disorder. And again, I'm keeping this simple. I'm telling you what to look for and what resources there are available to you. And that's 1-800-GAMBLER. And we'll be back after this break.
Stop the music! A new Parx experience is coming!
That's something I could cheers to.
Welcome back to the Xpertz Podcast. I'm your host, Natalie and we're welcoming our first guest, Ron Davis, Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at Parx Casino. Ron, you're my first guest here on the Xpertz Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
What a special treat, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for letting me be Ron Davis.
Yes. Well, Ron, we're gonna talk about something important today. It's responsible to talk about responsible gaming. you're the guy who has all the info here at Parx to tell, what kind of programs we're involved in, resources for, anybody who's listening to this, who's a gambler, if they need to get help. But I want to talk about you a little bit because you have a very fascinating background to me, I think. So you played in the NFL.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So let's start. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here at Parx.
Well, there's a whole story. We could go for hours.
Okay.
But, I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky in several ways. I'm former professional football player in the NFL. I'm in 3 halls of fame, high school, at Xpert High School, and everyone knows out there where Xpert High School it might be. And I'm in Virginia State's Hall of Fame, and I'm in the Conference Hall of Fame.
Amazing.
And so I'm blessed there, but I went on to the 49ers. I was selected by the 49ers in the 16th round, which they had 22 rounds back then.
Yeah.
They didn't even tell me. They had to call my parents that I was selected. So first thing I knew, I had a plane flight to San Francisco. Played with them a year on and off, and then caught on with the Cardinals.
Okay.
And played with the Cardinals, had 2 bad knee injuries, which were career-ending.
Yeah.
And went on and had 2 degrees. I have a master's in media and educational media, specialized in television, believe it or not.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was a sportscaster and did all that kind of stuff for a while.
Okay.
And became a banker.
Okay.
Short story in banking. I had a gun to my head in an armed robbery.
Wow.
Decided to change careers. Not only for that, but I had an opportunity to go into marketing.
Okay.
I marketed the city, a couple of cities, as a director of sales for that city with conventions and meetings, and went on to as a president of the Oakland, California Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Wow.
So basically, I sold the Raiders, the A's, and the Warriors, along with other visitation efforts to bring conventions in. I went from there to the convention center downtown. I was vice president here in Philadelphia.
Okay.
For about 5 years, and then was just fortunate enough to get this position. I was the first person hired by Parx. They said, we're going into gaming. Would you like to do something special for us? And I said, yes, I would. Diversity and inclusion and community development.
Absolutely.
And since that time, we've built a reputation as a great organization that shares its success with the community.
Absolutely.
And we've been very successful in engaging not only with money, but with people, people with all kinds of backgrounds. The diversity of our team is fantastic. We have employee resource groups we call business resource groups that do a lot of fantastic things for the community, whether it be women's leadership, people of color, veterans, reaching out to the disabled, reaching those who may need help in any other way in the community. And Parx is a leader in that effort to all the casinos, not only in Pennsylvania, but in the whole tri-state area, and is really noted for that. But along with that comes responsible gaming.
Absolutely.
And I was asked several years ago to put together, along with a team of people who work here in operations, a path that would help people who had addiction issues with gaming. And I have been fortunate. I'm on a number of boards, probably now 15 boards of directors, one being Live and Grin.
Okay.
On that, they actually help people with addiction, alcohol, substance abuse. But I reached out to them and asked them, would they help us also with gambling addiction here locally?
Right.
And become our conduit to help people. And so along with the Council on Compulsive and Problem Gambling of Pennsylvania and our National Council on Problem Gambling, we wanted an approach as a team to help people and give them a source of help. And so for the last 7-8 years, we've been doing that. And actually, Parx funds a program, but we also take the brochures inside the casino, which is unusual for a casino because it's a two-edged sword. We do promote. We have a tremendous product.
Absolutely.
We have tremendous people.
Absolutely.
Our customers love us, but we realize that an adult approach is best in all areas of gaming. And so we wanted to have that adult approach, and we do through a committee, Responsible Gaming Committee. We quarterly look at all the metrics and measurements that we do through people who are in our casino, the issues with training and making sure our staff is aware, any kinds of things, the regulatory things that are done.
Right.
We do that quarterly. And so we're very aware of our responsibility there, and that hence the name Responsible Gaming. We feel that people should enjoy their time here. We're very fortunate to be the #1 casino in so many areas, but I think we're the #1 casino in compassion from our board of directors on down. I mean, it took a step to make that happen. So
Absolutely.
I credit the board. I credit all of our staff for being a part of that. And we have fun. We have a approach that is kind of unique.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, from day one, we wanted to have a raving fans approach.
Okay.
A raving fans approach is above a good customer experience. It's a raving experience. Raving fans, and there's a book called Raving Fans, by the way, that we went by when we started this journey. And the raving fans approach is, well, you can have good customer service or great customer service, but it's better when somebody says, hey, you know what? I've been to Parx, and guess what? You need to go because I'm raving about that part. You know,
like a rave review.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So when you create that kind of expectation, it kind of gets that person involved in your whole process. They tell other people, they bring other people, and they start owning your process and product. And so that's what happened here at Parx. And as we talked about, Parx, proud, always reaching for excellence.
Yeah, so that's when Ron and I first sat down, he was talking to me and he said that he came up with an acronym. So I asked if there was a mascot because we were talking about how the NCAA tournament's coming up, and we were going through the team and I here, and we were talking about how many mascots from around the NCAA that people actually know. And I said, there's so many obscure ones. And I said, I wonder if there's a Parx mascot, but there's not yet. But
that's true. I'm sure there's going to be one.
I'm planting the seed. I said something like Pokey the Poker Chip or something like that.
Well, at one point, though, on our racing side, we had Smarty Jones.
Well, I was going to say, I thought Smarty Jones was a mascot.
And yet, well, Smarty Jones is a horse.
Well, he was a horse, but then there was another one, right?
Well, not really, but I when I started, I was in Smarty Jones' marketing closet. So Smarty Jones was in the Kentucky Derby. He almost was the winner of the Triple Crown.
Was that 2005? 2004? Okay, yeah.
So he really became a prominent Parx fixture,
right?
As far as knowing what Parx or Philadelphia Park at that time.
Absolutely.
And so we evolved into Parx in 2010 and built this gorgeous state-of-the-art campus, but state-of-the-art facility that our customers really love. So
it's beautiful. So that's what you said the acronym for Parx is. Wait, it's P is for, I need to remember. Proud. Always reaching excellence. So back to what you were saying about the responsible gambling. So there's this path that Parx follows. So if somebody comes into the casino or is down in the casino and, you know, one of the dealers knows that it's somebody who's problematic, I know there's options here. You can come in, you can sign yourself out, different things like that. Could you give some more detail onto what tangible actions somebody could take if they feel like they're suffering from some sort of addiction or they find themselves being a little concerned about their gambling?
As you're saying, there's a self-exclusion part to gambling in Pennsylvania, not only in Parx, but all the other casinos. A person can self-exclude. They can, and some people have that addiction that they tell you that they don't, please help me not come into your casino, and yet they come. So we have to watch out for that also.
Right.
But you can go online and self-exclude, and then we keep those records here, and certainly we flag that kind of issue or that problem. But there are people who should not come to casinos, whether it be Parx or others, who have that self-addiction problem, and those who have pressures in life that go beyond financial and some others.
Right.
This might not be the best place for them to be. But those who want to have fun, those who want to spend their leisure time here and their dinner and all the entertainment we have. That's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I always rave about Bamboo. It's my favorite. I love the pho down there. The food's so good. Burgervana, all the craft burgers, so good. So that's what, and
I'm a Parx Grill fan.
your Parx Grill's so good
Sea
too.
bass, if you want sea bass, that's excellent. Go to Parx.
Go to Parx Grill. So I just want to touch on one more thing. So, you've been in this business now for quite some time. Can you speak to the evolution of the gambling space and how now it's virtual, right? So that's why we're touching on gambling and addiction and stuff like that. It's because now there's a wider audience and anybody can gamble from anywhere in the entire world, especially in the United States now, 30 states legalizing gambling on their phones. So what has that been like watching that change? And do you think it's changed kind of the approach in the industry to how gambling addiction is handled?
I think there's an awareness that it's not only with the brick and mortar casinos now.
Right.
We're a brick and mortar casino to start out with, and we just received a okay to go forward with a brick and mortar in Shippensburg.
Wow.
Near the university down there.
Yeah.
And so brick and mortars have always had a foothold, but when the gaming laws were passed in about 2 years ago, that allowed the internet gambling in most states, and of course the Raiders are in Vegas now.
Right. Right.
So,
who would have ever thought?
So when all that happened, it was evolution and a quick building on what the brick and mortars had done.
Right.
But again, because of all the possible issues and challenges, it's still an evolving treatment and industry, particularly when it comes to addiction and all those other things, because there's a learning curve
absolutely
we're all going through on how to help people who are out there on the internet, how best to serve them.
Right.
I think Parx is way ahead because I think we realize that we're in, of course, as you said, several states, but we realize that's our responsibility.
Absolutely.
So we include that phase in our review when we do our quarterly meetings. We include what's going on, the self-exclusion in our gaming space, online gaming space,
right?
Because you can self-exclude there.
Okay.
And so all the other things that we're trying to build in each one of the states that we represent.
Right. And that's what you said. It's a learning curve. And that's why I wanted to have you on today. This is a new podcast, but again, you said it's the adult approach to kind of deal with something like this head on. And as we're all learning about it, and that's why I'm here to educate not only myself, but anybody who's listening to this and who plays the Parx online brand, or you come into the beautiful campus here in Ben Salem. Thank you and good luck. I have to say that it's like part of my thing now. If you come here, we just want to make sure that, if you're feeling not good about yourself or you don't think that you're heading down the right path, there's options here at Parx to help you. Again, 1-800-GAMBLER. You can always call that number. And Ron, so the former NFL, how are you feeling about the Eagles?
Interesting. Again, use the word evolution.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles, the whole NFC East is an evolving mystery.
Okay.
Evolving mystery.
Yeah.
Got certainly the Eagles have some veterans in place that the other teams don't have.
Right.
And I think that gives them a leg up, particularly offensive line.
Right.
And defensive line, if it stays together.
Yeah.
As it is. The pieces they add, we'll certainly
we'll see.
We'll see. And certainly the quarterback has been good last year.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does. See what it does. He's going to get a chance. And I don't think the other teams other than Dallas have
anything.
What is it? Commanders?
Oh, I keep forgetting that they're the Commanders. I still want to call them the Washington football team.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I got hurt against the former Commanders.
No.
Yeah. I was actually diving over one of the piles and reached out and got hit. Just clipped at RFK. That was one of my highlights.
Wow.
Of my career, and trying to drag the quarterback down. And, it's a banquet speech that I use of keeping your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
But that was way back when.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was going to say Larry Brown was the running back that hit me. If anyone out there remembers Larry Brown, and Billy Kilmer was the quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ron. This was awesome. I really appreciate all of your insight today and for you sharing your story. We'll be right back after this with Feldman's Fact or Fiction, and we'll close out this week's podcast, and I'll be right back after this break.
Alrighty, let's begin class with a deep breath and a relaxing Om.
Nat,
Yes, Sam?
what about the casino games I used to love to play? Are they going to be a part of the new Parx experience?
So most of the games that you love to play will be carried over, and we'll be offering a ton of new casino games that you're gonna love.
What about my sports bets?
All future sports bets will be carried over.
And my bonuses?
This is important. So all of your bonuses must be played down on the old app before we carry over to the new one. They will not go with you. However, we will have a ton of new bonuses that you're gonna love. All right, now let's get back to class.
Welcome back to the Xpertz Podcast. I'm Natalie and Thank you, Ron Davis. Feldman, welcome in this episode. Wasn't Ron great?
Ron was amazing.
He is fantastic, and nobody got to hear it, but before the episode started, he sat down at this microphone and he started singing.
He was singing and belting.
He was belting. So I have to have him back on to sing. He's an incredible guy. I loved his story and all the work that he's doing in the community, not only for gambling prevention, but all of his efforts. He's working with all the different schools and everything to make sure that Parx is doing their due diligence in the community to give back. And there's so much more that we could talk with Ron about. He's just a wealth of knowledge about Parx Casino here since the beginning. 17 years he's been here and, spearheaded all these initiatives and providing resources for people, whether they're struggling with gambling addiction or compulsive gambling. Ron's the guy who kind of put those resources into place. So thanks, Ron, for joining us today. He was awesome. But there is other stuff to talk about.
There is?
Yes, there is. In some lighter news,
Yes.
have you heard that guy, what's his name?
Schmame,
Begins with a Schmame Schmarden. James Harden.
The beard.
Yes. The beard is here.
The beard is here
in Philadelphia. Finally made his debut for the Philadelphia 76ers. Absolutely blowing people's minds. I think that we thought that the expectations were high, clearly. However, I don't know if we thought that there would be 176 points in 2 games between Harden, Joel Embiid, and Maxey. And it like that stat in of itself is ridiculous. And, we're talking about how we finally have a real point guard who can kind of put the ball wherever he sees fit to put the ball, which is what's so remarkable about him. It's effortless, right? And the space he's creating on the floor and the way that Joel is just so happy. I said in the beginning of the podcast, he has this permanent smile on his face. And I always say that seeing Joel Embiid smile makes me smile.
Aww.
And when I saw that Instagram caption after the first game, and Joel says, "I can't believe this is my life," and he's talking about how much space he has, right? He's like, "I'm wide open," and I can't believe this is my life, and he's smiling and he's hugging James Harden, and it's one of those moments where you're just so happy for somebody and what he's done for the fan base in Philadelphia, what he's done for the Sixers organization, embracing the city, and then getting to see him have fun out there and Tyrese Maxey have fun out there, and James Harden want to be here. He's he said he's home. It's only 2 games in, and he's playing again. He's making his debut in Philadelphia tonight, and it's going to be something. I'm a little afraid for the Wells Fargo Center. I don't know if it can handle the amount of rumble that's going to be there. It's going to be so loud.
I'm so excited. Tonight is going to be an amazing game. Not only is it Harden's home debut in the Philadelphia 76ers uniform, the New York Knicks are coming to town.
Yes.
And New York and Philly, when the Knicks fans, they will be there, unfortunately, but they will be coming to town. They'll be making some noise, and it's going to be an exciting time. I'm super excited to see how Harden and the atmosphere. I'm thinking they come out flying tonight. I think it's going to be a hot start. I think the crowd's going to really boost them to a quick start, and we'll see how Harden and the team does on offense and defense at home.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. And again, make sure that you check out Parx Sportsbook. We have a ton of odds boosts and all that other special stuff. If you're placing a bet on the game, you can check out to see what we've got going on the Parx Sportsbook app. And you'll start to hear trickling out if you're listening to Sports Talk Radio in Philadelphia or the surrounding areas. you'll hear some of our little advertisements that there might be news of a new app coming.
Oh, baby.
And you've probably seen, I've been posting a lot on my personal social media about there's something coming, and it's coming very soon.
It actually is coming.
Coming very soon. We promise it's coming soon. Our new app is coming. It's going to be your one-stop shop for everything that you need for Parx iGaming, and it's going to be really, really great. We're really excited about that. So if you're hearing some buzz about that and seeing some buzz about that, that is coming soon. And again, make sure that you download the Parx Sportsbook app because you could still get your bets in on the Sixers and all the other teams before that launches. But now it's time for Feldman's Fact or Fiction.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
You had the canned applause.
Sometimes I just heard a lot of applause outside.
Is that
to make sure it was adding?
Is that what I heard? Somebody applaud. Was that people standing and welcoming you to the work today?
I think that.
Is that what everybody was lining up?
Yeah, everyone was lining up, and they were like,
"Hey,
Mark, fact or fiction?"
Mark Feldman's here, everyone. Welcome, Feldman.
Yes, they were very excited.
I mean, people applaud wherever you go. I'm surprised they're not throwing flowers at your feet and fanning you with giant palms and feeding you grapes.
Kind of a big deal,
right? You're gonna want to. What are they called?
What
are they called? Those things that they use. There's a word for them.
Oh,
we used to carry people.
Oh yeah, like
like Cleopatra.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called.
Whatever, the Cleopatra John.
Yeah, that was speaking of fact or fiction. We talked about her last week.
We did talk about Cleopatra. So the Cleopatra John, we'll get you one of those. Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I don't think I have to divulge. But anyway, all right, let's get to the stories. Mark, what do you have for me today?
Okay, let's get to it. People are really excited for these Feldman fact or fiction stories. There's been a lot of great buzz going around in the Delaware Valley about this. So let's get right to it. I'm serious. That's the rumor around the block.
The Feldstinator.
Yeah, there's been a lot of names.
Feldsty.
You started that last week, and now it's just all my friends on social media were going crazy. No, it's okay. I love it. The Feldinator.
Feldstarama.
You should come up with a new nickname for me once a week.
Felderelda Ring Ding Dong. Felderelda.
All right. Now people are like, this is enough. Yeah. All right. Story number 1.
Okay.
Here we go. Congress elected the first woman to the United States Senate/House of Representatives before women were allowed to vote in the United States. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to say that is a fact.
You would be correct. Good guess. You're on fire with these. This is like our 7th story. I think you've gotten at least 4 or 5 of them right. You know stuff.
I know. Look, I know a lot of stuff. And growing up, my friends used to call me the human dictionary, and I used to read encyclopedias for fun. So a lot going on up here.
You got a lot going on.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Egg brain.
There's a lot in the egg brain.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait.
Yes.
Yeah. So who was it?
Yes. So this person, her name was Jeanette Rankin, and in 1916, she became the first woman in U.S. history elected to the House of Representatives.
Yes.
She came from the state of Montana. She was at age 36 in 1916. And again, this was remarkable because most American women were not allowed to vote until the 19th Amendment were passed in 1920. So 4 years before.
Well, and she, I think, was one of the original advocates for women's right to vote.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
her being in the House really had a huge impact on making sure that was ratified and eventually passed.
Yeah. She's like one of the original suffragists of the movement and all that stuff. I feel like I learned about her when I went to the Betsy Ross house last year.
Oh, you went there last year?
Yes, I went there last year.
How was it?
It was phenomenal. I'm going to go back again. They invited me back again in March in Philadelphia. If you're visiting Philadelphia, after you come to Parx Casino, play the slots, have lunch in Parx Grill, you could take a little pit stop before you come back at night. You can go down Betsy Ross house, get your tourism in, then come back.
Okay.
Come back at night, see a show, do a little bit more, play some blackjack.
There you go. Come back. That's good knowledge for the people.
Yeah.
But to your point, before we move on to the second story, this is true that Rankin, she helped organize the New York Women's Suffrage Party and worked as a lobbyist for the National American Women's Suffrage Association.
Yeah.
And this was in like 1911, 1912. So right.
Yeah.
She is really a
without her, and that's the thing. It's like you see these women in these spaces. That's one woman, right? But without her being in there, who knows if 1920 would have happened? Who knows if women would ever be allowed to vote, and women being allowed to vote changed the trajectory of American history, which is why I'm allowed to sit here today. I'm not trying to, I'm just saying, you think about moments like that,
right,
and it's important. So shouts to you, Janet. Thanks.
Yes,
Hon.
absolutely.
Thanks for all your work. Seriously. All right. What's next?
Okay. Second story. President Abraham Lincoln, before he became president. Oh, yeah, get ready. I see you smiling. This is a good one. He was a licensed bartender. Fact or fiction?
A bartender?
Yes.
Abe? Honest Abe?
Honest Abe, yeah.
Abe
was he a licensed bartender?
Wait, he was slinging suds? I mean, allegedly. Hold on, let me think.
Yeah, allegedly.
I
Fact
wonder
or fiction?
What did they drink back then? I guess mead.
I don't know. You're gonna have to wait till I explain the story.
Was he slinging mead? Here, have some more mead. Let me think. I'm gonna say true. He seemed like a cool guy, right?
Correct. Good job, Natalie.
All right, I like the canned applause now.
Now you like it,
Yeah.
yeah. Now it's for you.
Yeah.
But yes, you would be correct. He was a licensed bartender. So Abraham Lincoln was the co-owner of Berry and Lincoln, and it was a store/drinking establishment in New Salem, Illinois, where Abraham Lincoln lived between 1831 and 1837.
Yeah.
So he was a licensed bartender, and he started this with his friend in 1833, William F. Berry, and they purchased a small store that ended up becoming a liquor area where people could come. It was like a really hot spot in the town. Obviously, no one knew Abe Lincoln as the president. This was way before that.
Right.
But he ended up owning it with his friend, and it was pretty exciting. They owned it for 7 years. So it was a long time in Salem, Illinois. And are you interested in what they served at this bar?
Yeah, well, I want to know what was he making, like Manhattans? Was that like a thing back in the day? Hey, Abe, let me get a Manhattan in a glass with my cigar.
Is that how he talks?
Talk about your travels to New Orleans.
Was he still wearing his hat?
He was
back
like
then
James Cagney. I don't know. I just feel like that was like a name, sure.
Oh my goodness. Well,
he did not talk like that. Okay, I'm sorry. Go on.
You're good. I like hearing this. It's very exciting. We'll have to do the applause.
Remember how I said there's 60? This is where the brain
You're going.
Yeah.
You're just going right now.
James, somehow we're supposed to be talking about Abraham Lincoln slinging suds.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about James Cagney. But anyway, what did they drink back then?
Well, some of the things that they sold was half pints of French brandy. That was for 25 cents. They also served peach brandy for 18 cents and apple brandy for 12 cents. So a lot of brandy and a lot of different flavors. Apple, peach.
Apple, peach, pumpkin pie. I love, I like, that's cool. And I feel like I would have probably gotten like an apple brandy from Abe. Abe's apple brandy.
Abe's apple. Maybe we'll have to start that.
I like that.
2037, 200 years later.
That's actually kind of cool. I always imagined that he was like a down to earth guy, and you know what? That's probably why he was a people person. Because bartenders have to be people pleasers, people persons.
Well, when people come in after a long day and he's hanging out behind the bar and they want to complain about all their issues, you have to be a good listener.
You have to be a good listener. You get to know how to kind of console people, how to help them, how to ease them through their pain. I mean, look. Good on Abe. That made him a more well-rounded individual.
Yes, so he absolutely did that, and obviously we know the rest is history. He did become president.
Yes, he did.
I don't know if you knew that.
No, I think I remember hearing about that. His birthday just passed.
Did it?
Yeah, his birthday was February 12th.
Oh, you're right. I did see that. Yes, February 12th. So it's Abraham Lincoln on Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
So he's a
good guy.
We just had President's Day recently.
I'm gonna pour out a little brandy for him.
Pull a little brandy for him.
No, he was an incredible president. That's a great story, and I did not know that, but he seems like the type who would have been a bartender. So what do you got next?
Okay, third and final story here on the Feldman Fact or Fiction episode 3 edition, and I guess we're gonna keep it with a president's theme. So
okay,
I'm just feeling President's Day just happened.
That's okay.
I'm feeling very presidential.
You're feeling very presidential.
Presidential would be the word.
Okay.
So George Washington. Now we're going from the 16th to the 1st. George Washington. Chopped down a cherry tree.
That is a lie.
That you are correct.
Right.
That is a lie.
I'm 3 for 3 today. I knew that was. I don't know why did they say that?
So here we go. So this is like the myth that is false. George Washington did not chop down a cherry tree, but this is the myth that happened with George Washington. So the myth was he was about 6 years old and he was given a hatchet for his birthday gift from his father. And he was using the hatchet. He's 6 years old. He's just hanging out in the backyard or doing whatever. And he goes and chops down his father's cherry tree. And what happens is when his father goes up to him, the whole myth is that the father goes up to him and says, "Did you do this?" And George is thinking about lying, but he can't. And he says, "I cannot tell a lie."
Okay. And it's George Washington, I cannot tell a lie or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that saying, and I knew that it had something to do with the cherry tree, but I couldn't fill in the middle.
So that story that was explained and that myth that happens was not actually people did not find out about that until biographer Parson Weems in 1809 put that in his biography book about that myth. And the reason was this was 10 years after.
Did they ask George?
No, so they never did. So George Washington died in 1799.
Right.
So this story comes out in 1809.
Okay.
And the only person that heard about this was the neighbor. So they see this Parson Weems asked the neighbor of George Washington, "Oh, is this true?" And the neighbor was like, "Yeah, like it might be true. I don't know. Just put in your biography." And the Parson Weems was like, "Okay, like it sounds good. Like to have our first president be
Right.
honest and like I cannot tell a lie."
Yeah.
So that is not true for all you people out there. I'm talking to you right there in the camera. That is not true.
Right.
George Washington did not chop down a cherry tree.
Interesting.
He probably was honest and respected his father, I'm assuming, became the first president.
Do they even have cherry trees in Virginia? Isn't that where he lived?
That is where he lived.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know. I think
I feel
he
like
might.
I feel like a simple. See, this is where my mind goes. I'm going to the scientific method theory. I feel like a simple scientific, dig would figure that out. Can you cultivate cherry? I suppose if you could, since there is wine in Virginia and vineyards.
Well, that goes back to Abraham
It
Lincoln,
goes
being
back.
bartender.
Yes,
Maybe that's where he got some of it.
And full circle, and here we are.
Well, that's what we do at Feldman Fact or
Feldman
Fiction.
Fact or
But there you
Fiction.
go. 2 truths, a lie, or two
Two-
facts and a fiction.
2 facts and a fiction.
You went 3 for 3. That was
3
very
for 3.
impressive.
And George Washington doesn't tell a lie.
No, he doesn't. And let's end on that with that Feldman Fact
That
or
was
Fiction.
wonderful, Mark. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Anything else you'd like to update me on?
That's my
How's your
Feldman
love
Fact-
life?
I don't have any love life. If
No?
anyone's out there wants to help me
How
get
are the
get a
apps
girlfriend.
treating you?
The apps. I need to work on my apps. I need to
So-
get my Tinder going.
So at some point, we're gonna talk reluctantly. Probably we're gonna
That's
talk.
okay.
We're
I
gonna
have no
we're gonna talk about Feldman because I want to introduce something at some point. Probably around if the MLB even happens.
Okay.
The MLB is not happening. MLB All-Star break, where it's kind of like the dead sports time. It's the only time of year where there's no sporting events going on. We have a lovely beer garden downstairs that's connected to the sports book. That's going to need to be utilized, and I want to have a fling, like a Feldman finds a fling.
Okay.
We'll have like a
We'll have them come
mixer.
down to the beer garden and help me meet some women.
We'll have a mixer for the listeners of the Xpertz Podcast.
Yes.
So
Well, if you're single, I'm ready to mingle. So if you want to reach out at Mark Feldman 14. Is that
at-
a promotion?
yes, that was perfect. So let me see. What else do we have going on here at the casino coming up soon? I know there's tickets for a ton of shows. Andrew Dice Clay is coming Saturday, May 28th. Again, Elvis Costello and the Imposters.
Yes.
The OJs were moved. I just heard that.
Okay.
And what else? Yeah, again, so much stuff going on. We're still hiring, starting at $18 an hour. It's a great place to work here. And we are short staffed, so we are actively hiring. If you're looking for a job and you're in the Philadelphia area, make sure that parxcasino.com. Also, again, we'll have our big new app announcement coming soon. And I think that's soon. Thank you for that, Mark. And on that note,
You think that's when it's time to wrap it up?
that's
When we
time to
start
wrap it
making
up.
noises?
all right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Again, this was a difficult episode, and all we're trying to do is make sure that people want to have fun and gamble and do it safely, so where it's enjoyable for everyone, because that's why we're here at the Xpertz Podcast at Parx Casino in Bensalem, PA. Thank you and good luck, and I will talk to you next week.